Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with the freezing Hannah Burr.
It's so cold.
Yeah, it is very cold actually. It is very cold.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying to stay warm as well. We are in the frigid winter of Kentucky right now. It's actually a little abnormal. That's a bit. I don't remember it being this cold in a long time. Not a long time, but you know,
It's been a while.
it's been a while to have this consistent cold. Like usually it's maybe a day or but it's been cold for a while now. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
it's not going to get any better here soon either. So,
No.
but I am actually headed back to Florida tomorrow. So we're trying to get an episode in before I leave.
Have fun.
Yes, not going as long to Disney as usual. We're going for my daughter's gymnastics competition, but just so happens to be on Disney property, so of course gotta go
Perfect excuse.
check it out for a few days. Yes. So we'll do that. But in the meantime, we'll crank out an episode here, so we don't necessarily mean we're gonna miss a week because I'll be back next week, midweek too, but not too much news from last week. We had a good episode with Martin on where we talked about the big announcement of the Mandalorian and Grogu, which, as reports go right now, seems to be on pace to start shooting here soon.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of heard rumors it was later in the year, but actually it looks like they might be shooting. But all intents and purposes, they probably might be shooting season 4. And then apparently the rumors the movie kind of ends the series, or ends season 4, ends the series. So who knows what order they're going to go in, but it seems like that thing is getting ready to go. Also, the new Jedi Order is still on pace to get going here soon as well. So there is some good activity going on here with these movies, I think.
Absolutely.
Another report that I read, Diego Luna still has only about 7 days left of Andor season 2. But unfortunately, that's, again, not on this year's docket, it looks like. So we're not getting that until 2025, which is crazy because that's a long time.
Sad day.
I mean, we got that. We didn't even get that last year, right? We got that in 2022.
Yeah, which is mind-blowing. I could have sworn it was last year, but it was really 2022.
Yes. So meaning that it literally is going to be almost 3 years till we get the second season.
Oh, dang.
I mean, that's like worse than Game of Thrones.
Oh.
So anyway.
I don't think that's a fair comparison, though.
Well, I mean,
because Game of Thrones should have waited because the books would have been better than what they created. But this isn't a Game of Thrones.
Well, I didn't read the books, so I just watched the show.
All the books aren't out yet, so that's that's
well,
the other
that's true.
thing too.
But the first few seasons there were.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, you're right. So Andor is strikes are clearly over. Production is back and ramped up. You got Andor finishing up. You got new Jedi Order film getting ready to start. You got Mando, look like it's getting ready to start. Developing season 2 of Ahsoka. So there are definitely things in the works. Another bit of news, though, you brought this up. There's some rumors out there that Disney may be developing a what if Star Wars series. Now, I will say I think this is fandom trying to like get people talking and see what kind of interest is there. I'll let you go first. What do you think about a what if series, Star Wars series?
My opinion from when we talked about this a handful of episodes ago has not changed. I don't think, is it kind of cool to think, oh, what if Anakin didn't turn? What if Padme survived? What if Obi-Wan turned? You know, all those what ifs. Would it be cool? Sure. But you already took a bunch of great stories and didn't make them canon anymore with the
Yeah,
extended universe. And we're already trying to maintain what is canon. And as far as I'm aware, there isn't anything in Star Wars to currently suggest that there's a multiverse going on.
correct.
Meanwhile, in
Yeah.
Marvel, there is. So it makes sense in more. I don't see the need for it.
Hmm.
I feel like we already have a what if, which is the visions. It's not a direct what if, but it's definitely playing around with the different ideas of the force and the light and the dark. So I don't think we need it. That's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree, but what do you think?
Well, and I'm starting to recall us talking about this. So we did talk about this before.
We did. I
Okay.
think we on a whim, I forget which one of us brought it up, but one of us on a whim brought up, oh, what if they did a what if series or something like that?
Because that's because what if the Marvel series probably came out at that time, right?
Yeah.
Or the second season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Because I can't honestly I can't remember what I said then, but I'm definitely yeah. I mean, as of right now, I'm not interested in a what if series, and basically for two reasons. One, like you said, the EU has been dubbed Legends and non-canon, and they're not purposely developing non-canon stories. They're not adding to the Legends. They're just turning what was into Legends. It'd be one thing if they were writing all new stories that weren't canon, which they're not doing, right?
Exactly.
So everything they're putting out there, publishing, producing, it's canon. So it wouldn't make sense to me to do that unless you were introducing a multiverse. Which number two, multiverse in Star Wars is just a bad idea.
Not a good idea at
Because
all.
yeah, because you have a fandom that already highly criticizes the canon material. You start putting stories out there that people really like, they're gonna really hate the canon material. So it's yes, like you said, it's fun to talk about, but I definitely don't want to see it. I definitely don't want to see it.
No. I mean, if you want to write a fan fiction about it, sure, have at it. But it should not be canon.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think you can't do anything. I think you have to stay away from it.
Yes.
Yeah, have Star Wars fans do what I see is like they're making fan art and fan posters, of what, like, that's cool. Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool to see and spark some conversations and stuff like that. Healthy conversations.
There's this one series of comics of if Anakin didn't turn and Padme and Anakin were allowed to be together as they raised Luke and Leia.
Yes.
And it's the
Yeah, I
most
saw that.
adorable thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. You just, yeah, I don't know. You just run into so many, so many possibly good. I mean, right now you're even getting, as Colin Trevorrow's version of episode 9 is out there now, what was called Duel of the Fates. I mean, you got so many fans right now going, God, what if that was our episode 9? So you're already getting that already, and you're getting people that are already just, destroying even more what they got out of Rise of Skywalker. So
Right.
it's just not a good idea. Just
Don't open that can of worms.
yeah, and I hate to say that, but it's like, but I mean, but if they did produce it, I mean, I'd probably watch it, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah,
I think I would still watch it, but I would be really asking the what ifs, I feel like. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And not for the right reasons. Not like, oh, in this parallel universe, what if this happened? Because there is no established parallel universe. It's literally a, man, what if that happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just a big rumor. I really don't think that that's going to happen, but
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. As we were as I was in the middle of packing tonight, I was trying to think of like topics to talk about. And before we get into that, of course, release schedule wise here in January, talked about this a little bit, but actually each week we talk about this. So let's see, March 12th is another book from the High Republic, Defy the Storm. The Living Force is in April 9th. Temptation of the Force, June 11th. The Glass Abyss, the Mace Windu novel, August 6th. Tears of the Nameless, September 3rd, which is a High Republic. Comics this past week, you got actually Bounty Hunters 42, which was the actual conclusion of the series. So that's out there. Obi-Wan Kenobi number 4 and High Republic number 3. And then next week, Thrawn Alliances number 1, the adaptation from the novels. And then Dr. Aphra number 40 to end the last week of January. So yeah, Bounty Hunters. I just actually read that the other day that it was coming to an end then. Okay, so anyway, I was scouring. I was watching social media a little bit today, looking for topics and stuff, and I came across a couple threads that were doing their top 5 of the Disney era of Star Wars. And of course, you saw a lot of movies and TV shows. Not a lot of publications. On occasion I saw a High Republic in there, but nothing specific. So it was mostly like Rebels and Last Jedi or Force Awakens or Rogue One, stuff like that. So I thought, hey, let's just see what's on our list. I mean, and I didn't really get to think about this. So kind of threw mine together. Did. Yeah. So, this is no particular order. This is just kind of our top 5. I'd be curious to get people commenting on what their top 5s are right now. But so it's not a particular order. So why don't you what's your top 5, Hannah?
Okay.
Because there's no order, right?
It's no order.
Yeah.
And this was so difficult. Because I technically have 7 in my top 5.
Well, okay, just give 7. That's fine.
Okay, whatever.
And this is like everything. So this is not like just film and TV. This is. I know we've ranked our series before. We ranked the movies, but like this is everything.
And I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is I'm going to go through these, and then you're going to name some, and I'm like, oh dang, that was a good one.
Okay, well we can change it. We can change it.
Well, anyway, so. If you ask me right now, top 7.
Okay.
5 in quotation marks. No particular order. Dark Disciple.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Sith.
Yeah.
Andor. Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor. Mandalorian Season 1 specifically. And Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple there that aren't on my list that probably are right outside my top 5, and that would be Andor and Tales of the Jedi. I thought about those on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Andor probably should be on my list, but because we're incorporating books and comics and stuff like that. Now, you didn't mention any comics in there, and I actually had some comics in mind too. Like this Vader series that we're talking about, Beyond the Saga, is actually phenomenal.
That is right outside.
Yes, correct.
Right outside the top for me.
So for me, it is Dark Disciple for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue One. Star Wars Rebels is actually is still in my 5.
I respect that.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. And then I was like, what could be my 5th? And I'm thinking, and then I thought, well, okay, it did come during the Disney era, but season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Yep, I would say season 7 of the Clone Wars is definitely, and Rebels are both definitely just like right on the cusp
Yes.
outside those tops.
Yeah. Yeah, because I could change out that with Andor, with the Vader series, comic series. I mean, even you're right. Even Jedi Fallen Order could be up there in there too. I mean that's game wise. I mean that's pretty strong.
Yeah, for me, it kind of is interchangeable between Fallen Order and Survivor, and I
Right.
think more so with I think I might choose Survivor over Fallen Order, just because of the amount of lore that's in Survivor and the unique storytelling behind it, and the fact that it ties in the High Republic as well. It's just mind
Yeah.
blowing.
Yeah, I do think the story for Survivor is much denser than the first one.
Yeah.
The first one was more about finding the family and surviving Order 66 and stuff like that. And then Survivor takes it in a whole other direction. It was really good.
And of course, like you do have to mention Rebels and Clone Wars, which is one of the reasons why I didn't pick it in my top 5, because I knew you were going to say those.
Yeah.
So I was like,
sure.
Okay, he'll cover that for me.
Yeah. Rebels. Rebels was kind of the first thing that they did that Disney kind of put out. And even though the first season started off like, it's getting there, but like, man, it took off, and season 2, 3, 4, those are like some of the best things they've done. I mean, so out of the two of us, I mean, I'm the only one with a movie.
You are.
So that's saying something,
I guess.
Well, we're saying that there's better material that wasn't in the movies.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
I think so. And I
mean, Solo, I almost put Solo in there.
Solo's a little bit outside the cusp for me, just because those first 10 minutes are so vastly different from the rest of the movie. It kind of throws you out for a moment, and then you jump in and you're good to go.
Oh, when they're younger? Like in the beginning?
In the beginning. Like the first 10 minutes of the movie are like, what is this? And then afterwards it's like, oh, okay, here we go. So that's why it's a little lower for me. But I don't know. I just think, I don't know if they were trying to do too much with the movies. I know there was a lot of chaos that happened. There was a lot of throwing out story, bringing back story. It was just a hot mess. And I think that unfortunately made the 3 movies suffer, because unfortunately you can't consider Rogue One and Solo could be different, but with regards to the Skywalker saga, you can't really consider a movie just by itself. You have to take it within the context of everything else. And unfortunately for me, that's why the movies suffer. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just for me, though. I mean, you even chose Rogue One. You didn't pick 7, 8, or 9 at all.
No. I think, I think there's been a lot of good stories beyond 7, 8, 9. Like I think you're right. I think Shadow of the Sith is a better kind of story than one of those movies, actually.
Absolutely.
The stuff like, I mean, Ahsoka, I'm surprised Ahsoka's not on there, but Mandalorian's not on there for me right now. But I mean, those are technically, I'm more interested in those stories than 7, 8, 9 as well, right? So yeah, I think think 7, 8, 9, just didn't. Man, I mean, the expectation of those were so high, and it just didn't. It just didn't land exactly right, but
It didn't. And, I think the other part of it is and maybe they were doing this, they were trying to please all these generations at once.
well, I think they were definitely trying to reintroduce it to a new generation.
Yeah.
But
And
I
if you
think
do
they
that,
kind
you're
of,
going to make the people who have been there since the beginning not happy.
well, you kind of forget about them a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and just think that you kind of take them for granted, like they're just going to like anything we put out, and
Yeah.
it's obviously not the case.
And I think that's why Mandalorian season 1 is in my top. It's not necessarily, like, don't get me wrong, the story's great, but I think also it just so artfully and tastefully introduced us to a whole nother side of Star Wars, to a new
Hmm.
generation. And it still included the old generation.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it was so beautifully done. So
Hmm.
that's why I think Mandalorian season 1 deserves to be in the top there, because it just it did that so tastefully well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
So is the only one that was in both of our tops Dark Disciple?
Dark Disciple, yeah. Which is still by far to me the best novel that's been out there.
It is.
I
It's
mean,
solid. It's great. I think we both
yes.
gave it like a 4.99 out of 5 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I might have gave it a 5, actually. That might have
Yeah.
been, I don't know how much better you can get than that.
I don't think
I
you
mean,
can.
I remember, it's just, you know, I I struggle having time to go get through the novels that I'm getting through now. And I definitely don't have time to go back and reread, but I'm definitely going to go back and re-listen to that one eventually because it's so good. It's so good.
Absolutely.
And I hope somehow we end up getting some kind of Tales of the Jedi series of it or something, because
I really
I'd
hope the
love to
Tales of
see
the
it.
Jedi turns into that Clone Wars anthology type of.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I'll just go ahead and say it, I am anticipating that the Acolyte could probably pop into my top 5.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think part of it is a couple of reasons. One, we finally get something that's more focused on the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. Another reason I think is because it's different. It's a different time setting.
Yeah.
Like,
Agreed.
how cool is that going to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
I anticipate that too. And who knows, Skeleton Crew might surprise us.
Right. It could. It definitely could. I think there has to be some kind of big connection or twist in there that I'm not expecting to really grab me. So,
Mm-hmm.
which could be the case with that. So, all right, let us know your top 5 right now. That'd be cool to kind of get into a little bit. Let's see. I want to get to. We do have a few comics here.
All right.
Let's see, from our episode last week with Martin, Amanda on YouTube. Let's see. She had a good comment here. She says, I'm not into the idea of having AI fill in for actors who have passed in most cases. I'm actually surprised with what they've gotten away with on some projects, but I'm assuming they at least had permission from family before using the deceased person's likeness. We need to let the people who passed stay past. It feels like too much of a slippery slope to be able to keep shoveling content if they have the rights to use an actor for anything they want to continue a story ad nauseum. Isn't that part of what the strikes were about? I could see a contingency model being a popular thing when signing on for a series in case of your untimely death, but I hope they are limited in scope. It just feels so wrong for me for Hollywood to try and continue to use a person's likeness with AI after they pass when they didn't consent to it prior. And then Thrawn Addict actually replied to that and said, I agree, actually. I didn't quite think about it from that point of view. Yeah, recently deceased, I'm sure from his family perspective, is not very respectful unless they give permission and are compensated for it. But overall, I think recast or doing a different direction entirely storyline-wise would be better.
I'm so glad she brought that up. Or I'm so glad that whole topic was brought up because, yeah, because with our company, we're researching AI to learn more about it, and it is absolutely terrifying in my opinion. And I think that especially with the strikes that happened, like a lot of great points are brought up there. And maybe that's something that is going to be part of contracts now, where it is if you pass.
Oh, the AI thing for sure.
For that. But yeah.
Well, the thing about it is the thing about, at least what I know about the business, is it really depends on the franchise.
Yes.
Because if you're just doing a movie, like a original script, original movie, you basically sign off to do that movie, and that's it. They can't do anything with you. They can't make a sequel. I don't know. They just can't do anything without your permission. Now, depending on how your contract is structured, you could structure to where you can sign off your likeness for like lunch boxes or T-shirts, and you get a small kickback and stuff like that. But that's what you're licensing them to do. So, but beyond that character, like that original character that you play, they can't take that and just throw it in a cartoon without you being the cartoon is different because it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like they just can't do anything else with that unless they get your permission. Now, with Star Wars or something massive like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, I don't know. It's like when you get into these massive franchises, I'm pretty sure. And I remember seeing or hearing about George Lucas talking about this. Like he was very. He was so engulfed into that world of Star Wars. Like he wanted people to be remembered as that likeness in that universe. So like Harrison Ford in Star Wars, like that's never Harrison Ford. Like that is Han Solo. And that's why he was so particular about when they would do expanded universe stuff that Luke Skywalker had to look like Luke Skywalker, had to look like Mark Hamill, and Princess Leia had to look like Carrie Fisher. I mean, it was like and I believe now I could be wrong, but I believe he signed them on for lifetime likenesses.
Oh.
So basically saying I can create anything Star Wars with your likeness. Now, whether or not they got back in deals, I don't know. Back then, no one cared about Star Wars. Like no one thought Star Wars would ever be anything, right? So most people just signed off, said whatever, I'll do it. I mean, when Lucas went to 20th Century and said I want all merchandise rights, they were like, have it. You're never going to sell anything with merchandise. So now look at it, right? Now I think when it comes to death and when it comes to AI, look, likeness is likeness. I think you have to be smart about how you negotiate your likeness, because if the studios can use your likeness without paying you, they're going to use it. And so you have to, as an actor or as a person in that industry, you have to protect your likeness, and that's true. What Amanda said, that's what the strikes were about this year mainly, was the AI stuff, that people were making these AI things without their permission.
Right.
And it's clearly their likeness. It's not like they're trying to be somebody else. Like, it's purely them. So they did reach a deal. So they probably got some kind of back-end deal where you can't do it unless you sign off on this stuff. So I do think that it is protected now, but I do think that, there's a lot of gray areas still probably that are going to come up.
Yeah.
It's particularly this death thing. I think, I don't know what the rules are fully about postmortem stuff like that. I don't,
Well, I mean, it's getting to the point where you could just AI and then you have, what is it, at least 20 minutes worth of someone talking. You could replicate their voice.
Yes. Which I believe, again, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I believe they did reach some kind of deal with James Earl Jones about that.
I think they did too.
So I think that they recorded a bunch of lines from him, paid him a bunch of money, and said, from now on, we're going to create Darth Vader's voice from this sample of audio. I believe that's what happened, because you'll never be able to get James Earl Jones back in the studio. I mean, God love him, he's still going. I think he just turned 93 the other day, actually.
God bless him.
Yeah, so, he's still working, but it's harder for him to, get into the studio. So, and you can't get anybody else to do Darth Vader's voice. I mean, it's just never. so yes, I do think that there's ways to do it. There just has to be compensation. There has to be, rights and licenses signed often. So I think
consent.
And consent, totally. I agree, totally. But, but she makes a good point. I mean, I think there's some people that don't agree with a person's likeness being used if they die. I get that. I think that's a good argument. I think there's certain franchises, though, like Star Wars, that it's just, you just want that person's likeness, because it's so familiar. It's so familiar.
Mm.
But that's hard. Anyway.
It is.
Okay, Amanda also says, she put another comment here, says, Darth's comment also reminded me, I forgot to comment on the last episode, 2 episodes ago, once you read this. So that was, I think, that was our best of 2023 episode, I think. And she says, I do love that you have Hannah on the show. I don't hear a lot of female voices in the Star Wars space, which is just another reason for this one to be my favorite. He's right. You guys handled the commentary on the controversy just fine. Most of the time when these things blow up, it's not what it seems on the surface, and you gave good perspective on that. Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And then, let's see, Thrawn makes a comment again. I don't know what they will do about a December release date for one of the Star Wars films, because it's pretty sure the Avatar sequels are in December, and I'm sure they don't want to compete with $1 billion plus movie franchise. That's true. I don't know when the next Avatar sequel.
That's a good point.
I think the next Avatar sequel is actually 2025, so it might not be the same year.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think there's no way they would release Star Wars and Avatar the same month.
No.
Then he says, great to see Martin on the show. Big fan of Mandalore podcast and love to hear his thoughts on Inside the Force. The rumor about Tales of the Jedi spinoff is really exciting. I hope if they do Tales of the Sith, they do more with just Palpatine, Dooku, Maul, etc., as we have quite a lot of content on them.
Mm-hmm.
I want Tales with Plagueis, Bane, Revan, Malgus, and so on. I don't know how far they will be going back with these characters, because they will have to consider making it canon, which I haven't really done yet, and not sure if they want to save these characters for live action stuff. Tales of Bounty Hunters would be fun, especially if they do a Boba between Clone Wars and A New Hope, and I would love a venture story or even a straight adaptation of Dark Disciple, which we just talked about. Was happy to hear the movie news with the Mando film, although I hope they change the movie title. I'm gutted due to this movie being next. They have now pushed the Rey film back. I do think Disney has done this, though, because it is a less risky movie to do to get them back on track when it comes to the box office and critical success.
Huh.
Yeah. I still think Rey's movie is going to come first, though. Mandalorian and Grogu are just so popular with merchandise, etc., whereas I think Disney are still a bit cautious with the Rey movie due to the sequels. But if Mando film hits out of the park and TV shows like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew do well, I'm sure they would be more confident with the Rey movie. I know it's pretty much a given, but relieved that they officially announced Ahsoka Season 2. I love Season 1 and think Dave Filoni will improve the second season. Season 1 was Dave's first outing as a showrunner and writer for a live-action series, so I'm sure he has learned a lot, and hopefully that bodes well for Season 2. I do think the weakest thing about Ahsoka was the writing, so hopefully that improves for Filoni, or Filoni gets someone in to polish the scripts. I'm in two minds about Baylan character. See advantages for both AI or recast. It depends on how critical his storyline is going forward. If it's pivotal to the whole series, and even beyond that, I think they should just recast, because that would be a lot of screen time for AI characters that the technology is not quite there yet. If it's sub-storyline and not main focused, then AI would do for one more season. Anyway, enough rambling for me. Again, so excited for the commentaries, and didn't know you were doing all the movies, so even more pumped for it. Yeah. Gonna do all the movies. All right, let's see. On our Beyond the Saga episode, let's see. Darth S&M finally, he said, got the comments figured out. Thanks. I love Beyond the Saga. I listened to a ton of books, but I don't get enough time to read comics. Thanks for keeping me up to date with the stories. Yes, we'll do that. Mm-hmm. And then Thrawn commented on it saying, I do remember enjoying the Darth Vader run of comics, but have forgotten so much from them. I feel like I need you to do a spoiler reviews to refresh my memory on these. Ooh. I don't know why, but I retain a lot more memories from the novels than I do the comics. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a fine line there, because those stories have been out for a while, and but I feel like I do caution people that see us for the first time or find us for the first time. I don't want to spoil it for them. So
yeah. So
maybe we'll do some. Thrawn, you get and Darth, you guys are patrons, so maybe we'll do some spoiler reviews on there. That's probably what we should do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Thanks everybody for the comments. That's great. Again, let us know your top fives here from this episode. Started posting some clips of our shows on social now. Getting some comments on there too. I didn't get a chance to read them on here, but getting some stuff on there. So interesting. I just haven't been really good at social, but I'm going to start posting some clips. So
awesome. We'll
see what happens there. All right, Hannah, I am getting ready to go. I'm heading to the airport here in like 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours.
Enjoy the most magical place on earth.
Yes, I will be back next week, and we'll be back doing the show. So hope everybody has a good weekend. Hannah, thanks so much as always.
Thank you, Dave, as always.
Well, I kind of cut you off. Did you have anything else for the show?
I'm good. I'm good.
Stay warm. Try to stay warm this weekend.
You try to stay cool.
Yeah, well, it's not all that warm down there, but
warmer than here.
Yeah, we're definitely warmer than here. I'll be able to at least go outside. Yeah, so everybody take care. InsideTheForce.com. Of course, all the links are there. Patreon, if you want to check out our tiers. We're going to start doing some commentaries, all that stuff here coming soon. So hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. May the Force be with you.